This goes back to when I was about 26, 27 years old. I was in college, just finishing college, and went for a regular routine checkup. I was having a little bit of trouble with kidney stones and just, typical urinary tract issues. And so I went to the doctor, and the doctor just did your routine blood tests. And then I got a phone call later on from the doctor several days later that just says, it's unusual, but your kidney function is dropping slightly. So just be aware of that. Keep an eye on it. You're at about 90% function. And I guess at the age of 26, I should still be close to full function. And 90 would be a fairly substantial drop for somebody that was my age. So that's when I was first kind of aware of it. And then I really didn't think too much of it for many years to follow. I did have several kidney stone attacks and blood in my urine and these type of things, but it wasn't, the doctors never made it sound like it was really that unusual. It was just like, just keep an eye on it. And they did some ultrasounds and some intravenous pyelograms and some numerous types of testing. And they said I had kidney stones that were inside my kidneys, but they were too small to do anything about and just to keep living your life and what have you. So that's what I continued to do. And as time went on, the doctors were bringing it to my awareness that my kidney function was slowly dropping. And as I got into my 50s, I was down to around 50%. And so I knew with the doctor's warnings that things were definitely progressing. And they kept referring to a thing called IgA nephropathy. And that they would, based on the amount of urine or blood that was in my urinary tract and so on and so forth, they're assuming and making the diagnosis that I have IgA nephropathy. I then had a kidney doctor that I was assigned to, and that doctor followed me for many years prior to me actually starting to have kidney failure. And that went on for, several years, probably 3 years here in Kelowna. I went to that doctor and he would do the regular testing, and it would slowly progress down to where I was at about 30%. And I was still traveling for business. And the symptoms started to progress at this point. So up until that point, at 30% and better, I really didn't have any severe symptoms other than the doctors telling me I have a progressive disease that's attacking my kidneys and my function is dropping. At about 30%, I really started to feel the symptoms. So while I was on the road in my business, I traveled between Australia, Canada, and the US. And what would happen is sometimes I would start to get unusual cramping. So it could be in my rib cage, it could be in my hamstring, it could be in my calf. I could be in the middle of the night and just be woken up to severe pain like I've never experienced before, and a binding of that muscle or the muscles between my rib cage. And that was kind of unusual. And I just kind of shrugged it off like, oh, it's just a cramp, and didn't really relate it to the kidney part of it because nobody ever educated me that that's one of the symptoms of kidney failure. The other thing that was happening was I was getting extreme itching. I'm talking all body, every part of the skin on everywhere of my body. So arms, legs, back, very, very deep itching. Not painful, just like an incredible itch. So I was having to deal with these things, and I was never putting two and two together that this is part of the kidney problem. I thought I was allergic to the sheets in the hotel rooms from the soap that they were using and so on and so forth. But it turned out that that's called renal itch. That is actually the impurities that your kidneys are no longer able to remove from your body through your kidneys and bladder. Instead, it comes out in the skin, and those impurities make your body itchy. So that's kind of what happened up until the 30%. I started to realize this is happening, so on and so forth. And then the doctors told me I'm going to be needing dialysis soon. And I started to, I guess, panic a little bit. maybe not want to do dialysis, and therefore I was avoiding, going to the next step and just saying, yeah, we'll do that. And then it dropped to 25%, and then I was down to 20%, and then my symptoms were getting more severe. The hospital started calling and saying, the symptoms are going to get worse, and you really need to start thinking about which method of dialysis you're going to use, whether it's going to be the PD, which is peritoneal, or if I'm going to do hemodialysis. And they're two very, very different methods of cleaning your blood. And I ended up going with the hemodialysis, which is in the hospital 3 days a week for 4 hours. And it just fit my lifestyle the best. And it's, other than having that time that I can't get back that I spend in the hospital, the process is very, it's not a bad process at all. And I'm pretty happy with it so far.